Today, we'll be refoaming the front speakers on a 100 series Land Cruiser. Everything here you can find in the description below. First, I'll do a quick version of removing the door panel and leave a link to a longer video I made just on removing the door panel. Go ahead and remove those trim pieces and the screws underneath. Next, we'll remove the trim piece under the door handle here and the screw just underneath that. This trim piece is a little bit tricky, but just use your trim tool right where I am, just above the door lock there, pry up, and then underneath the door handle there, and that should come right out. This piece also takes a little bit of force, so use the heftier trim removal tool. Then you want to push in and up right where I am, and you'll see there's a big clip just underneath that, and that's what you want to push on as you're trying to get leverage. Remove this wiring harness and then the screw that's just underneath that. These little guys are just a pop and pull. There are two on the left and one on the inside of the door. Remove these 4 screws and then this tweeter cap will just pull right off. Now pull the door panel away from the door, and then as you lift up, you'll see there's just one more wire that you need to remove for this light. Now removing the speaker is pretty easy. First, unclip this wire from the top of the speaker, and then remove the 3 screws holding it into the door. Once you have those out, the speaker will just slide right out of the door, and we can head in to start the refoam process. I'll start by removing this foam that insulates the speaker housing from the door panel. It's a little delicate, but you should be able to pry it off by hand. And here's how the speakers look after 15 years. You can see they're pretty much disintegrating along the seams there. And needless to say, they do not sound very good. So first we want to remove that foam, and you can just peel that off going around the speaker. And that should come off pretty easily, and it's leaving behind the adhesive, which is what we're going to remove next. So basically what we're trying to do here is make a smooth surface for the new foam to adhere to. I took a first pass at this using my razor blade, and this outer housing is made of metal, so you don't have to be too delicate with it. Just go around a few times and try to remove the bigger chunks of adhesive and foam that you can find. Now you'll want to smooth that out a bit. You can grab a piece of sandpaper or a file. I had a Dremel handy, so I just threw on a little sander on that, took a coarse pass at it, and then threw on this little brush that made a huge mess and helped to kind of smooth it out. That looked pretty good to me. Clean that up with some rubbing alcohol, and now we're ready to remove the inner adhesive. So here is where you're going to need some sort of solvent. Some rubbing alcohol should work just fine. In my case, I used a lens cleaner, and that seemed to work as well. With the razor blade, pry a little piece of the adhesive away from the cone, and once you get it started, it should pull away pretty easily from the edge of the speaker. This part is a little bit tedious, and I found that adding more solvent was really helpful in being able to peel this off. Here's a quick look with all of the adhesive removed. At this point, we're ready to install the new foam. First, I'm going to lay the new foam inside the speaker and grab the adhesive, apply a thin layer around the inner part, and smooth that out with a brush. Now we're going to flip that over and lay it on to the cone. I found this adhesive was actually really easy to work with. It's both very sticky, but also takes some time for it to really take hold. So it helps you to manipulate the foam around the cone for about 1 to 2 minutes until you get it into the right place, although it's pretty much aligned right away. What I did is just go around the cone a few times with the trim removal tool or something to depress the foam against the cone, and you'll start to feel it take hold. And once you're satisfied with the alignment and you can see that the cone and the foam are actually pressed against each other, then you can let it sit for about 1 to 2 hours. One other note, if you need to, you can reach underneath the speaker and push against the cone and the foam to really make sure that it's taking hold. Here's how my speaker looked after about an hour of curing, and now we can move on to applying adhesive to the outer part of the foam. Similar to what we did on the inside, work your way around applying a thin layer of the adhesive to the metal housing. And one tip I have for you, using a metal hook or the trim removal tool to lift the foam away from the metal would be helpful. I was not doing that and made kind of a mess with all the adhesive. That should also dry for about an hour, and now we can prep the foam that we removed in the first step. This time I just used my razor to go around a few times and clean it up, and then wiped it off with a alcohol wipe or some solvent. Same drill on this with the glue, but one tip for you, this plastic ring aligns in a particular way to the speaker, so just make sure you have that aligned before you flip it over. And here's a final look after one more hour of drying. At this point, we're ready to install it back in the Land Cruiser. From here, everything is plug and play. Fasten the speaker back to the door and give it a quick listen to make sure everything sounds good. I hope you found that helpful. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.